Did you
Recording is on.
Oh, now it's got a male voice. Nice. Anyway, okay. So, actually, one of the things I wanted to show you. This is actually I'm going to start from the least significant to the most. One of the things I wanted to show you guys was an application that I created. It was based on my work on UIKit. I think I told you about it, Lars. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Let me see. Okay. I'm going to show this both on GNUstep and on Mac. And yes, this was partially vibe coded, but I will tell you, some of it. I mean, the UIKit parser, the score parser, was handwritten by myself because, of course, AI doesn't know much about the score format.
It's not sharing it. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I'm not. I'm not sharing it.
Okay.
Yet. Okay, hold on a second. There we go. Window. There we go. All right. I'm assuming you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, score maker. Now, I did write a very minimal version of what is it? There's an AV MIDI player. But it doesn't work from the Score Maker app. It takes a while to start it for some reason. I think it's because, my machine is busy doing something. Yeah, there it is. You see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is actually one of my favorite songs on, that came from the Next machine. As you can see, it fully renders all the notes. If you're wondering why there aren't any of the normal bars that you would see, like the, what they call I forget what they call it. It's when they connect notes. Oh God,
Yeah, this title.
what do they call it? I forget. But no, I mean, it's because apparently this was an early score file. So instead of like making eighth notes, which is what these would do, because I'm familiar with this song. It's a Bach's fugue for violins in A minor, and it should be the time should be 8/8 or 4/4, but instead of these being quarter notes, they should be eighth notes, and the time should be 60. But instead, it's 360 and it's quarter notes, which is weird. Because I mean, also for those of you who didn't know, I used to play music a lot. I play the piano still. I used to play like clarinet, saxophone, trumpet, whatever. So so music is kind of like one of my other passions. But hold on, let me show this off. Now this is playing on my Mac, but I did something similar on Linux, which does the same thing. Hold on one second. Score player. Play. Music. Now, if it flags this will be wild. But here we go. Tell me if you guys can hear this. Can you hear it?
Yes. Pretty cool.
Thanks. Now, I won't play the whole thing, but yeah, it's what it does is it translates from a score file to MIDI, and then it pipes that output to either timidity or fluidity. And I mean, so yeah. Now, part of this was vibe coded. The view that shows the notes, yes, because it was highly complicated. And there are other, what is it? There are other, scores that do show. I forget what these are called, where it does that like this, and it kind of joins them together. But
Yeah, the sparse, you mean, yeah?
yes, that's right. And this shows them properly. I mean, beat game. Let me see. It's 62 beats per minute, 4/4. Yeah, fine. But this uses 16th notes and 8th notes, which like it should. But yeah, so can you guys hear me? Okay, it said my microphone was noisy. Probably because I cleared my throat. But yeah, so I mean that score maker. I mean, but the ones that I did that were entirely vibe coded were these following ones. Let's see. I created a couple of approximations of things of demos that existed on the Next machine. And one of them was this game. Hold on. Again, it's busy. Give it a moment. Come on. I upgraded to the latest Debian, and there is something that is running on in the background of my application. Sorry, my what is it? My machine that apparently is taking up a lot of time. Billiards. So
I like that one. I could have a lot of fun with that. I used to like to play pool games on the computer.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's like, and it looks almost exactly like it. Actually, what is it? Somebody else added. I forget what his name is, but he added the eight ball, 9 ball, and the different game types.
Oh, right. The
Yeah,
Ambrosia guy. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, and I of course coded the entire game with the help of AI. I mean, and I mean, let's just say, the fact that this can be done in just in general is truly like concerning. I mean, because when I can do something in an afternoon that would have normally taken me a week, that's just crazy work. you know. But yeah, I mean, so we have that. Billiards. What else do we have? Oh, here we go. I'm just going to show you guys this one too. I mean, I know a lot of people wanted to port Mac down, but that would have required a full like WebKit, which we of course have. But I think it makes things too complicated. So what I did was I wrote Step Down, which is a markdown application that it's not fully compliant with Markdown, but it does do most of it, including like image imports. I mean, it will look at a Markdown. You see right here, it opens something that's untitled. 1 second. Oh damn. Okay, let me see. Oh, that's a bug. Let's see. Yeah, all right, let's try that one. Well, I mean, okay. Images don't work on what is it? On let me restart it here. Images don't work on GNUstep because of shortcomings of our text system. Hopefully, those will be resolved at some point. Let me see. And
How are you doing it? By copy pasting to the prompt, or do you have an agent?
what?
An agent environment for the vibe coding?
Oh no, I'm using Codex.
Okay.
Codex is a command line application. Sorry, command line tool or application on Mac. Either one on the Mac, actually. That will basically, yeah, you see. So I mean, it does a lot of the work. I mean, to creating an acceptable translation. I mean, obviously these are stand-ins. So I mean, but on the Mac, you would see the the picture that would normally be here, that is referenced via URL. This is the alternate name for it, that is specified in the link. So yeah, it's but as you can see, it does a pretty good job of actually like translation into into from the Markdown. This is actually the Markdown application that I use on my Mac 100%. I don't use any other because of the fact that I want to, if I find a problem, I'm going to fix it. I mean, and that's the good thing about doing that kind. I mean, about using, I hate to say it, vibe coding, like I said, is because of the fact that, it allows you to prototype something quickly and then find the bugs. And if you want to fix the bugs yourself, fine. If you don't want to, fine. But normally, a developer obviously is necessary somewhere in the loop. And I do understand why, some people are threatened by it because of the fact that what does it do? It lessens the barrier to getting things done. And thus it makes it less of an accomplishment when something is done. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
The guy behind Omarchy Linux who did Ruby on Rails, um, apparently the next Omarchy Linux is entirely vibe coded.
really?
Yeah, he's like embracing it. He's like, I never could have done this stuff, in this time frame without it.
Well, I mean, it's got its strengths and weaknesses because it can create code that is extraordinarily difficult to understand. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because it will generate stuff that works, but that's not well structured. I found this when I was working. I mean, and like I said, the reason I'm doing this is because part of my PhD studies is AI. I'm concentrating on AI when I do my PhD. So, I mean, I want to see how far I can push it, you know, and
I wrote a kernel module with it last month
really,
for
yeah.
mock IPC, and like I started bringing back. I don't know if you ever heard of NextBSD.
Mm-mm.
So NextBSD was a thing in 2015 where Jordan Hubbard and this guy Kit Macy were sponsored by a company that I used to work for, to port mock and launch the to FreeBSD, basically. And it went on for a year or two, and I got pretty far with it. And that's what became Raven OS until they switched to XNU recently. But
Okay.
basically all that work was those projects, and Raven OS made the switch away from BSD.
Well,
But anyway, I had AI pick it up, and I think I've taken it further than anybody has.
well, okay, and then maybe you kind of touched on something that I'm concerned about because if we don't find a way to in some way to embrace this, in other words, or to say, hey, we're going to use this in a limited capacity, which I really feel like we have done, that we're going to fall behind, because what you're going to have is you're going to have other projects using this to get ahead, and they're going to leave us in the dust. It's going to be, oh, well, we used AI to assist with this feature and that feature and this other feature, and we've got them done 6 months before you got them done because you decided to do them
there's a
with weird rather than software.
There's a weird split too, because Linux kernel, for example, is embracing it, and a lot of the commits that are going in now are AI assisted. I heard some complaints maybe about too many commits during the merge window or something, but for Linux, which is Linus has never liked. But then there's like other projects like Flatpak that are like absolutely no AI, not allowed, completely banned, and like rsync is another one I heard of recently. The original developer of rsync has taken over the project because the guy who replaced him didn't have time anymore. And this guy did Samba as well. He goes by Tridge. Andrew Tridgedale, I think. He took back over his own project and started using AI to fix the security issues, and people are like upset about that. So like there's definitely a lot of pushback from a lot of people about it, but there's also a lot of people who are embracing it, a lot of projects that are embracing it, and then projects that say, nope, absolutely not. And I think you're onto something that, the projects that are like, nope, absolutely not, are going to fall behind and be replaced and probably superseded in some way.
Yeah. And that's what I'm concerned about because I feel like what's going to happen is, we missed the ball. We missed the boat years ago when we were following a spec rather than blowing up the world. And I'm talking about GNOME.
Right.
Because of the fact that, we could have like just implemented our own stuff and then just, and then not be what we are now. Which I think would have been a tragedy. But, but the price we paid was we are now sort of what I guess you might call a submarine project, in the sense that we are used, but we're just used various places and nobody says that they use us,
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's less than what we could have been. And if we don't embrace AI to some degree, what we're going to do is we're going to miss the boat again. Because of the fact that we're going to let people like accelerate past us, and, we're going to just not really give a crap about, we're going to say, oh, well, real engineers, is that a similar phrase? Familiar phrase, right? Do this or that. And I think real engineers use whatever technology is available to them in order to get the job done. That's what
I think Fred had a good idea a couple of months ago when he started talking about AI contributions, that it would still be good to have a human person review, someone with experience review the code. Just to make sure, because as you said, AI could make mistakes. AI could do things that aren't really good code quality. I think there's still a lot of value in that, but I think it's good the project welcomes some AI contributions, but still screens them. Like,
in fact,
maybe fix this, instead of just accept.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that AI should be regulated. We should be basically saying, hey, this looks good or this doesn't, and shit like that.
Right. I think that human review but accepting is a healthy balance myself.
Yeah, human review.
Of course, you review your AI products because they make mistakes, and the only bad vibe coding I know is when you don't know programming at all and do it nevertheless, and just say okay to everything.
When you trust the AI 100%, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. But if you review it, I don't see any problem.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, now the big one. Well, actually, no. There's two big ones. I wasn't sure if I was going to show you guys this because this one is rather interesting. See source. Let me go into the source and show you what this is. You guys see this list here? UI image, UI responder, UI nib.
Yeah.
This is iOS. Okay. This is based on. I mean, believe it or not, this is based on a project that it's the part of the project that I started like a couple years ago. But I basically pointed AI at it and I said, "Can you make this work?" Because the way I wanted to do it was I wanted to base it on our app kit. That way we could leverage everything that we've done with respect to the Android stuff. Now, what I don't have right now is I don't have any Android stuff, but what I do have are examples that basically use a very simple zip file that do start up. UI example. And they do. It does. It's going to start up a little window right here. Come on. I really got to find out what is taking up so much time on my Debian machine. Okay. Yeah. I mean, very minimal example, right? Right here.
So UIKit, if I understand it, is iOS, as he said?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and this is done using a zip file that references UIKit objects like UI window, UI view controller, UI text field, and so on, UI button, UI slider, stuff like that. So it's decoding it and translating it into those, and some of them are either widgets that have been like directly implemented, or which derive from AppKit objects that they're related to. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, NS button, UI button, right? So yeah, I mean, it's it's a start, and that's what this is. This is an example of what it's good for. It's good for early prototyping. It's good for getting you started on something and then pushing forward. You know what I'm saying? And then you as the developer can push forward. But here, let me see. Okay, now the big one. So libs WebKit. No, not that. Nope, not that either. Oh, no, put it out here. There we go. Okay, now I need to simplify the build process because you need to have CEF built, and CEF will build itself and put itself inside of WebKit. It's right here. It's under CEF build, right there. I know you can't see it even with me selecting it, but it's right there. Yeah, I mean, I have a number of scripts that you can do this. They're in bin. I need to write a comprehensive README that says, here's how you build it, step by step, because I don't think that's really clear. But the result is, I wrote an application called NetStep, which probably could have a better name.
You could do a Nextscape, like Netscape, but
Netscape. I love it.
NetStep is not bad. I like it.
And you could have like a animated GNUstep logo in the right-hand corner, like the Netscape thing used to animate when you browse.
That might not be a bad idea either. Hold on a second. But yeah, I mean, this one's going to take a little bit to start up. I mean, here's actually its icon over here. This little world worldlet. But the large majority of this was coded by hand by me. The only place that I used AI on this one was to help me figure out why in the hell it was crashing every time I started it. Because every time I started it up, it would come up with this recursive failure where it was basically trying to here we go. There. See?
Cool.
And here's my Gmail.
Are you doing your own custom buttons there, or?
Yeah, these are all different. These are all custom buttons. This, of course, is in an X text field. This is integrated in here using a GORM file where this whole area right here is just a web view.
Okay.
And the way it works is that there's a timer that basically does the updates, so that because the way WebKit, the way CEF works is, well, let me go to a different site here. Now this may crash because, of course, is okay. Yeah, of course it's not fully tested, but and of course you can create. I can open things from. Now, why it's I mean, even if I use a regular browser, it comes up like this. This is our documentation for GORM. Why it's generating the documentation a little bit wonky for GORM is very strange to me. I don't know why, but it is coming up the way it comes up on Chrome, which is weird. But yeah, so I'll have to figure out why it's not working properly when it generates documentation for GORM. But yeah, you can open files on the file system. As you can see, the URL is accurate right here. File : / blah blah blah. And you can. Hold on, let me resize. This has crashed things before, but yeah, it'll resize the web view properly. Reflow everything. And yeah, I mean, because the way WebKit, the way CF works is it runs a browser and then basically samples the screen that it creates, whatever viewport it's running off of. Okay. And that way it has to have a run loop. So we are 98% source code compatible. The only difference is that in what is it in main? Let me show you where this is going to where it's going to cause a difference. Okay.
About that timer, I ran into something similar when I was looking at porting Ladybird, and it used it was supposed to use, or they were using by default CF run loop or Foundation run loop, which I found was part of lib's core base later. But I had to implement some manual timers for the rendering of each page. I don't know if that would help in your case or not, but where I had re-implemented something, apparently lib's core base had something.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand that. I mean, here's the only caveat to running this. And of course, you can if-def it out. I mean, you just have to initialize the handle process, and this is the bit that runs the CEF run loop in the background. Okay, and so basically, what's going to happen is it's going to come in here and do this, and then it's going to, if it returns 0, it's just going to fall through, and then it's going to run the application. If it doesn't, then it's just going to exit. So if it doesn't initialize CEF properly, then it's going to die. But if it does, then it's going to start up the application, as you just saw. So yeah, I mean, don't let this, and Joe, please don't let this stop you from doing anything on your side. For me, this was, I mean, if I find, also, if you want to make any fixes to this that you deem necessary, please, be my guest. Do not,
Okay, cool.
Don't hold back or anything like that. If you find any problems, if you find this useful, please use it and fix any bugs, but don't let it stop you on your side doing what you're doing. Because, I did this because obviously people have been complaining about, oh, we need a browser, we need a browser, we need a browser. Fine, now we've got one. So, because I had done an experiment a long time ago with something called Berkelium. And Berkelium ran, but it ran slowly, and the palette was reversed. And I never really did figure out why the palette was reversed. Maybe I got one of the R and the G mixed up, or the G and the B. I don't know. When I was doing the colors, but yeah, for some reason or another, it basically it wasn't working properly. So, and plus Berkelium at that point had been abandoned. So,
that's funny you say that. I had the same issue with Ladybird. At first, the colors were inversed, and I had to fix the conversion.
Oh, really?
GNUstep does it differently. Yeah, it was like RGBA versus BRGA or something like. It was just inverse.
And I think that's maybe what I ran into, because of the fact that it was. But yeah, I mean, and in fact, what I did with Berkelium is still in the Gap project, and it's very similar. So I mean, and that was working. So I mean, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so now we have a working browser, and we have a way to use it from Gorm, and we have a WebKit WebView equivalent, although it does lack some features, like deep integration with JavaScript.
How long does it take to build the CEF stuff, and what do you need any powerful hardware to build it?
No, it's CEF is relatively big, but it's not so big that it's going to take more than about 15 or 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour.
Oh wow!
Do
you think it could possibly build in GitHub on like a 2-core, 8 gig of RAM runner?
The only thing it could build, I think it might take about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, something like that.
Okay.
Other than that, yeah, it should be okay. I mean, my machine. I mean, the machine that I use on a regular basis has 16 processors and has 32 gigs of RAM.
Gotcha.
Who's calling me?
Are you still there, Greg? Lars?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Greg is on the phone, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. I figured he had stepped away.
I don't hear him anymore, but I see his mouse moving.
God. All right. Sorry.
So, Joe, you're currently bug fixing on.
Can you guys hear me?
On what now?
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. Now I have to call my friend back because hold on 1 second. It's rather urgent. Give me 5 minutes.
Okay. So you're doing bug fixing on Gershwin now?
I haven't done much this month, but Pro Bono has done a lot of that But yeah, I'm not really thinking about any new features, just kind of polishing things up.
Yeah, that's necessary. Pro Bono is traveling this weekend, I've heard.
Yep. It sounds like he would like to join, but sometimes probably work and other things get in the way where he has to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the only other thing I would like to do that would be kind of new would be, maybe if I could build this WebKit CEF thing in GitHub and find a way to distribute a browser in the ISO that's native. That would be really nice.
That would be nice, yeah, really.
So like maybe build it as its own, not I don't want to say its own completely different GitHub project, but a project of its own within the GitHub org that assembles the WebKit CEF so it doesn't slow down the normal build process. And then the normal build process could ingest that for all the systems that it has the build for.
Yeah. You try to rip out all of the unnecessary stuff out of the normal WebKit
Yep.
and get the build types down.
I did not get a chance to try that yet. I did want to try that this month.
Okay.
I basically had it was taking like 12 hours to build on my ThinkPad T420, the stock WebKit full release. That does build for GNUstep, but I haven't gotten the mini browser to run yet.
Okay.
So that part I had ported in my fork, and I've updated the fork against upstream, but I found later after some research there was a way to disable, certain features, OpenGL and whatnot, that could possibly speed it up quite a bit and make a useful mini browser without maybe features a lot of people don't need. But my thought was if Gershwin had a native web browser and it was working well enough to be able to go to GitHub and things, then people could go grab app images of their own browsers.
Yeah.
If they want a full Chromium or whatever, it would just be nice to have at least enough that mechanism enough to get them to the web where they can grab other things.
The browser downloader.
Yeah, I'm probably get it merged today. There's some work Pro Bono did on fixing the menu performance. So when you switch between applications, the menus will now update really fast instead of taking several seconds. And where it would sometimes misfire and not always show a menu, it fixes that. Makes it a lot more stable as well. So I'll probably get those merged this weekend.
Okay.
And that's probably, if he hasn't tackled it yet, there was an issue with ghost title bars with compositing that I wanted to try to fix again. I came really close and fixed 90% of it, or fixed it 90% of the time, but there's still 10% of the time that the ghosting will still show up.
Hey guys, I'm back. All right. All right, let me turn off my sharing here. Sorry, my best friend was calling me to check on me to make sure I was okay. Told her to
No problem.
occasionally call me to make sure I'm not dead.
Hey, can I ask a question about UIKit, Greg?
Sure.
Is that like a stepping stone towards Swift integration? Like isn't that one of the components that would be needed for a bridge?
No, it is purely the Objective C version of UIKit.
Okay.
But I mean, since this seems to be the AI episode of our particular thing, that is something that I've thought about pointing AI at as well. is getting that bridge at least started, because it seems to me that it's worth investigating, the possibility of integrating the libobjective-C2 library with the existing Swift, code that exists on Linux, because the Swift code that exists on Linux is, it's the same code base, obviously, that's used on the Mac, except they have, if-defs that sort of like clip out the integration with Objective-C. And let's put it like this: I have been watching, with great interest the latest WWDC, because I'm just waiting for Apple to announce one day that, something like, oh, we've improved our development environment and made it the best in the world by eliminating legacy Objective-C, that kind of thing.
Right.
It might actually be good for us, but I'm waiting for that.
Yeah, I've heard some talk about them moving more and more things to Swift Foundation instead of, away from Objective-C.
Well, I'm going to tell you the thing, the issue that I had with Swift in the beginning was the fact that it was so volatile with its syntax. It basically would blow the world up every 2 months.
Yeah.
I was part of an application that was written in Swift back when back when Swift was first introduced, for a project for Amgen, which is a big pharma, company. And one of the things that happened is we did it using Swift 2.0, and then Swift 3.0 or 2.5 came along, and it upset everything. And then Swift 3.0 came out and upset everything. And then, and then it's like, because there were paradigm shifts, there were fundamental changes with how you did unwrapping and how you did, which is one feature that I absolutely freaking hate. Why hide nil checking behind such an obtuse syntax? Where you have, question marks and, what is it, and exclamation points and stuff like that. And why not just check it? And it's like, and why worry about nil? Why not just make nil a no-op? But that's what Objective-C does. Why worry about nil so goddamn much? And it seems like to me that Swift took the whole paradigm of, let's let nil just be a no-op. If something doesn't work, just respond to a message, then, have it say, throw an exception, or if it's nil, then it just passes and returns nil. Why worry about it? But Swift seems to spend so much time worrying about it that it actually built the whole syntax around it, and that whole paradigm changed 4 or 5 times. In fact, when I went to the, and I think I told this story before on this very, thing. I said, I asked the Swift community about integration. And then one of their questions to me is at one point on Twitter, they said, well, when are you going to integrate with Swift? I said, when you guys work your syntax out. Because it just seemed to me like it was in flux. And it seems to me that it's an exception to people who didn't like square brackets. Okay.
Right.
I'm sorry. You didn't like square brackets in your code. Too bad. Get used to it. And it goes to this. I watched a video on YouTube recently, and it says, the worst always wins. Which explains, because it talked about a man who ran a company that actually spent most of its time building Lisp applications. And Lisp is actually a very elegant language. I love it. This man believed that Lisp was the future. I don't. I never did. But some people did. And, but he wrote a book called The Worst Always Wins. Or Worse is Better.
Right.
And in fact, that explains it because of the fact that a lot of people love C++. C++ is a crappy language. It has no focus because it does everything everywhere all the time. You know, it over. I mean, C++'s like whole thing is override every single C convention to make it object oriented. The dot syntax, the the arrow syntax. The referencing, the various other things. Um, you know, and yet Objective C with one page of syntax additions achieve the same thing in a more elegant way. And yet and still they went the C++ route, which explains to me that yes, worse is better. So, I mean, one of the things that I've been thinking about with respect to Swift integration is either we can go one of two ways. Either we can lean into our existence as an Objective-C platform and be the best Objective-C platform we can be, or we can lean into integrating Swift. I mean, and I haven't decided which way is best because I'm worried that if we integrate Swift, that there's going to be, there could be issues in the sense that people will come in, they'll want to do Swift, and then that'll take the project over. Because it's always the worst thing, the one feature that you think is never going to be used, that everybody uses over and over and over again, all the way, all over the place. It's always that one feature that you build into something that you think sucks, is what people are going to focus on. And if we build a Swift bridge, I'm worried that people are going to focus on that. Oh my God, GNUstep supports Swift. Now we have to write all of these GNUstep libraries exclusively in Swift. No, stop.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I honestly would rather see it go the other way, where GNUstep is just the better continuation of Objective-C rather than following other, pushing people more and more towards Swift, I guess.
Yeah, and that's actually the way I'm leaning. I mean, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be a Swift bridge. But that also doesn't mean, if we do one, then
maybe it would be nice if there was a simple solution where someone's Swift UIKit program just ran in a GNUstep environment. But I can also see the other side of that, where it's like if Apple's going to inevitably drop Objective-C entirely from their end anyway, and it would be nice. It would be nice to see it live on and continue. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of open source to me, is like projects don't have to die.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, let's put it like this. It would be nice if Swift was actually a good language. Because it's not. I've never liked it. I think it, to me, it's ugly. I mean, do I know it? Yeah, I do. Because as a potential, PhD candidate, I try to be language agnostic. I don't try. I mean, knowing the minutia of Perl or Swift or whatever language is not useful. Knowing, algorithmic complexity or, data structures and stuff like that, that's enduring. And knowing concepts, that's enduring. But I mean, the Swift language is just horrible. It doesn't make things easier on the developer, and that's my problem with it. What does my opinion matter? Probably nothing. But I mean, I just don't like it.
I think maybe it depends on where a person begins as a developer, I guess. I mean, if that's the standard that's in front of them and they don't ever see any Objective-C and they don't ever start with that, then probably trying to get someone who does has done Swift for 4 years, and trying to get them to switch would be very jarring. But that's also, like you said, it seems like a lot of times the crap solutions win, and I think it's also the shortcuts win, because thinking back to our conversation a couple of months ago of how GNU OS was going to originally be based on Mach and all that stuff, and it took too long, and Linux came out with a monolithic kernel faster, and everyone just attached to that and put all their momentum and energy into that, and then that solution won. It seems like there's people just often, at least in the FOSS world, have just attached to shortcuts from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I did add one feature to an application that I think sort of has become at least useful to me. Hold on one second. Let me show a preview. And this was not vibe coded. This was basically because I had found. Okay, you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Font book. I had written a sort of clone of font book for GNUstep.
Oh, nice.
What I found out is that was one of the shortcomings that I had always found was there was no way to create, or at least I didn't know that there was a way to create a preview.
Cool.
But I mean, what I'm doing here is apparently what was it? Google has an API that allows you to download sort of a limited version of the font.
Yeah.
To create this. So you can get, it does fail on some of them though, doesn't it? Hold on a second. Try to find one that's completely different. There we go. Okay, good. It seems to get stuck sometimes though on if it doesn't load properly, then it will just reuse the last preview.
Looks like it's changed every time to me. I haven't seen it stick.
Well, I think a lot of them are similar fonts too.
Very nice.
But yeah. I mean, and you can install it, reload it, and stuff like that. So, and you can, I think here you can search. But yeah, so I mean, it gives you the different variants and all the other crap. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, what were we talking about? We were talking about Swift integration. Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe Swift integration isn't necessarily gonna. I don't know what form that's gonna take. What were you saying before I interrupted?
Oh, he was asking me about where Gershwin was at, maybe Lars.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So, this last month's just been mostly a polished month. Pro Bono's contributed a lot of fixes, and we have like a menu performance fix that I need to merge today after just checking to make sure it still works, and then that improves the switching between applications and the menu instantly updating and things like that. And there's a few things left to fix with Window Manager. So we're not really focused on any big new features other than I may look at, if it's feasible to build WebKit CEF or something in GitHub, then I can maybe make it so our ISO images can have a native browser. It would be nice to have something to where, we can get to GitHub and get other apps. The problem is that, trying to put Chromium or something on ISO and GitHub, you're limited to 2 GB ISOs or releases in GitHub. So we can't distribute, large DVD-sized images that way. And it would be nice to have a browser in just to be able to go grab as a mechanism to go grab other applications, other app images, and things like that. So I may look at your solution, Greg, and see if it's a quicker path than the WebKit thing I was looking at. But that's probably the only new thing I would be working on. Other than that, I think we just kind of want to tighten up Window Manager and other things first. And, it's been mentioned, maybe we'll look at compositors as well. I know the other, the Ambrosia guys made some progress, I guess, making Wayland work, but
yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty cool.
I think really, I'm not super focused on Wayland. I just kind of want what's there working as great as it can before trying to tackle anything new. For example, just thinking about Wayland again, certain things like our dbus menus, like that non-GNUstep applications presenting a menu, for example, a global menu, there's no protocols on the Wayland side to make things like that work. I don't know if the Ambrosia guys found a way around that or not, but it's just, there's a lot of, like, it would be like solving the same problems that we solved in the last 2 years all the way from scratch. So I haven't been really enthusiastic about it. He's doing the same work again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not very exciting working on window managers or compositors or any of that. I'd rather like make new apps or polish up, making display settings, things work,
right.
Integrations.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I've always done is work on. I prefer like working on. I'm the one guy that like prefers to work on the infrastructure. I mean, like with stuff I've done for GUI and the stuff that I've done for obviously WebKit CF and go on.
Well, one of the areas that would excite me instead of a compositor would be like making a display server that can replace Wayland or X11 and using Opal for that. Like, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I almost fixed every single issue with Opal. There's like 2 nuances left. One is making the terminal app work. And then the other was just a glitchiness in the menu rendering. But then like writing a whole new display server solution around that would be very appealing and exciting to me. Just to have, because the more Gershwin can build itself natively faster and not depend on, what's the right word? Ever-changing upstream moving targets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like the more robust it can become on its own. And I I would maybe like to see a future where it has its own display server and X11 apps just run like kind of like Xports did.
Mm-hmm.
So we could reuse the window manager that app work we did, but it would just be when those X11 applications run. But otherwise, AppKit apps won't need or ever need as nearly as many third-party libraries.
Yeah, I mean, how can I put it? That's almost edging towards sort of the because if you in the beginning of GNUstep, one of the things that we were trying to do was create. Um, there was something called the display Go script server.
Yep, PostScript display, right? The next use before macOS 10. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, and the idea is that obviously, I mean, that was ultimately abandoned because in fact, when they ended the project, what they said was that it was better to create a library that would render it to something else than to basically create a PostScript, display server because it introduced too many security issues. And indeed, one of the things that happens on the next machine is that it is easy to breach security using the display PostScript display PostScript server.
That is a good point.
Yeah, and well, yeah, thanks. I mean, yeah, and that's not just my opinion. That was proven by one of the guys who, he was Fred, not Fred. It was something. His last name was Geiger.
Okay.
And he like he wrote this thing called Project Akira. And Project Akira was all about rooting a Next machine using its DPS server. Obviously, if we were to build anything like that, we need to be mindful of security.
Right.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, actually, that's one thing that I would love to see, because given that GNUstep generates its own PostScript, calls, it's pretty much damn near a PostScript engine itself. In fact, I think I showed this to you guys once before, but I've made some improvements on it. I mean, one of the things about spending a lot of time at home because of certain factors, as I told you when we first started talking, which we won't mention during the stream. But also, just having a lot of time in general is I get a lot done. Also, don't have cable, which makes me a freak. So I'm very productive, however. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I did was this. Let me see. I call it GSPS. GNUstep PostScript. What it does is it. Let me see. I make sure this is the latest version. I don't trust it. Come on. There we go. Is this? Okay, hold on one second. Let me make sure, because don't remember it looking like this. There's one way to find out. Damn it. Okay, hold on. Ah, there it is. Damn it. I knew that wasn't the right version. Okay. So what I did was I wrote a PostScript interpreter. One of the nice things about PostScript is it is stack-based and it was meant to be easy to implement a parser for it, because everything is, sort of reverse Polish. You basically push something onto the stack, and then the next command uses what's on the stack as parameters, depending on how it functions. If it takes parameters, it takes them off the stack. If it doesn't take any parameters, then it just proceeds. And various other things. So it's very easy to write a PostScript interpreter. So what I did was I wrote a recursive descent interpreter that handles PostScript and uses basically an NS array as a stack. And I followed. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Green Book. You know what the Green Book is?
No,
Have you seen it?
I've not heard of that.
Yeah, there's three very famous books. One is the Green Book, which is the PostScript language. One is, I think it's like the second version, I think, is the Red Book. And then the Blue Book is Display PostScript.
Okay.
Very few people have. I have a copy of that one. But what I did was, let me see. See this one. This one is a relatively well-known test. Look at this. And it renders properly. I mean, there are a few things that don't render. One of them is, render but don't render properly. One of them is the test page. This will crash it, because what it does is, this is a lorem ipsum thing that has images integrated with it, so it's going to crash. In fact, it's probably already.
Okay.
Let's see. I think this one will render. Yeah, and just so you guys know, GSPS is something that I've had in the repository for about a year and a half. So is WebKit CEF. So is, at least, yeah, this is not rendering properly. But it works. I mean, there's some logic in here, in other words, push pop, loops and stuff like that. That it is, and of course, what it's doing is it's it's using the percent sort of like you know um, declarations where it says this is the width, this is the height, this is the whatever, um, to as hints to determine the size of the page. So
Where's this repo?
it's under my repo. It's under I think it's under GitHub. It's libs-gsps.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I haven't moved it into GNUstep yet, but I will eventually. Libs WebKit CEF is in GNUstep, so you should be able to work.
Yep, I've seen that.
Yeah. But I haven't announced this one yet because obviously it still crashes and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean it's sort of a good demonstration of using GNUstep's like PostScript based sort of like back end as a PostScript interpreter, which is something that I've talked about for a long time. Because I've always thought it was possible simply to build a stack based interpreter on top of that particular thing, and that's what that is. That's really all that is. There's very little, there's I could have made the code a little more dynamic like that. But
is that eventually something you could use to like open like PDF files, or is it just limited to what would be sent to a printer?
Right now, it's limited to what we send to a printer. Right now, it's well, I mean, PostScript, as you may know, is a Turing complete language. So, I mean, PostScript actually.
So it could allow like print preview functionality for GNUstep?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's one of the reasons why I think it's useful, because since we generate a lot of stuff in PostScript, it would be nice simply to preview it without having to actually,
do you by chance use PostScript drivers for your printers, or?
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people use cups, but I always thought it was cool that if you have a PostScript capable printer, you could just use that. You don't have to fight with PPDs or.
Yeah, I do. I do use cups. I use cups. And the one printer that I have is a Brother color printer. I actually got rid of my. I used to have what was it was an industrial like printer. It was a Xerox 4900.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was capable of, I think, like some ridiculous number of pages a minute, but it would never every time I sent a job to it, I would have to edit it because it had something in it was damaged. So I was like, you know what, forget it. So I just put it out in the garage. I don't use it anymore. But I find that I rarely, if ever, have to print anything anyway. So, yet again, a portion of our lives that is disappearing because of the fact that we are now using pretty much everything, signing everything online, and everything. I mean, every contract that I've signed for any work that I do is always digital. Now it's digital. It's all digital. None of it's on paper.
That's true. I haven't printed in years.
Yeah.
My dad used to print like large manuals for Photoshop type things, and had them all in a binder and would make print out his own manuals.
Yeah, and that era is gone.
That era is gone.
And in fact, one of the things that I used to tell my professor, one of the guys that I took classes under at the university, was, I miss books.
Yeah, I know.
Because now that I'm like studying for this, all our books are digital.
Yep.
I remember carrying around let me put it like this. There's a reason why College Park is named College Park, because
Right.
the University of Maryland dominates that city. The city was actually named after the university, which should tell you something. The university is enormous. I remember walking around that university with a backpack full of books.
Yep.
And I had to carefully select which books I would take that day to make sure that I wasn't, killing myself walking miles between classes.
Right.
Now I don't have to carry anything, and it's like, and whenever I do go, like on campus, because they have a local campuses here, it's I don't have to walk very much, obviously, but but I'm not carrying anything.
Right.
It's wild that everything is now. I suppose now maybe I'm sounding like an old man. Right?
Well, I've never really, when it comes to digital books and PDFs and stuff, I mean, my usage of those is like use the find feature, find what I'm looking for, and then that's it. I never read those things cover to cover.
Yeah.
But like back in the day when DOS, had 300-page books that came with the software, I would actually sit and read those things cover to cover and learn more than I otherwise would have.
Right.
Man pages and stuff, I'll read a man page with the man command a lot, but I don't find myself reading digital books either. And there is something to be missed about that.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I do. He actually echoed the same sentiment. He was like, yeah, I guess we're just both old men.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just have an attention span thing when it comes to PDFs, and even trying to read them on a tablet. It's, the tablet shuts off every 5 seconds. That's just not a good experience to me.
Hold on, I got to turn on my air conditioner 1 second. But yeah, no, it's one of those things, I guess. Starting to wonder if we're going to see anybody else today. Because I would hate for my prediction to be right. Good news, Lars. I got I've been working on the scripts. I have some refactors done on a branch. I've also gotten the Mac OS 10 build script to work such that it builds libs GUI and libs and back properly, and make services actually works.
That's nice.
So I mean, but that's using GCC. So the trick is because I had to basically patch everywhere we were doing like where we were getting function pointers, function imps, because apparently in some cases it was, you know, some cases on Mac OS 10 for some reason it was misaligned, and I don't know why.
What is the difference between the macOS and the Darwin part of the scripts? Wasn't there already a Darwin part in it?
No, there wasn't. No, I well, I had never explored Darwin, so I'm not sure what the difference is or might be. The Darwin scripts were never fully tested,
Okay.
and in fact, the script that I just wrote might actually take their place to some degree, because of the fact that, but also I need to try to build under proper Darwin, not Mac OS 10, because Mac OS obviously has quartz and stuff like that on top of it, and Darwin uses X.
Yeah, Darwin in this way doesn't exist anymore, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, so Darwin really doesn't exist. Yeah, Darwin as an open source
I
project.
thought Darwin was a shortcut for Mac OS X.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so so that I'm not quite sure of, but I think I may just take out the Darwin scripts or replace them, or just just replace them with what I've done already. But yeah.
I don't know if we just should build the GNUstep extensions on macOS 10.
Well, I mean, there's a way to do that. I mean, all you have to do right now is just actually that works.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. That works just fine. But what I'm talking about is building actual GNUstep on Darwin.
Yeah.
Um,
Somebody had it running in the 2010 somethings.
yeah, and I never figured out how they did that.
I never had it running on my machines.
Yeah, I never really figured out how they did that.
Some etolagis or etoligis did it.
Hmm. So how long do you think we should wait for anyone and everyone else to get here?
I think they usually would have showed up by now, but
Huh?
usually at least they would have shown up by now. I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that Fred usually pops up around 1, and then says he has to go to dinner.
Yeah.
No shade against him. I'm just saying that's the usual pattern.
Maybe our meetings are too long for other people.
Well, I have a feeling that they're
quite a lot of time.
I have a feeling they're too early. As well, because one of the things that Fred said was that he's usually having dinner around this time, and I would assume since he's in the same time zone as Ricardo that that's probably what he's doing as well.
Ricardo has said he has never time on weekends.
If it works better for them to change the time to later, that wouldn't be hard for me.
It works for me.
For me, it's also okay. Maybe it's the reason we are.
Yeah, I just earlier would be harder for me because I'm in Central, but
because you're what?
I'm in Central time, but
yeah.
Earlier would be harder for me, but later would be fine.
Well, I thought this was okay because it basically maps to, like around 5 for some people, but I mean, it's not too terribly late. It's not, but it's also not too terribly early either.
Mhm.
So
I also think maybe it's something about winter months we might get more participation. I mean, just because
people are
it might,
more inside, you know.
yeah, it might be harder to lure people to meetings on nice days.
Maybe we should discuss this issue on a list or somewhere. Are you on the list, on the mailing list, Joe?
Yeah,
Okay.
it just doesn't make any difference to me if you guys need to change the time to get more people.
And also this Reddit posting doesn't have any effect. There's nobody coming from there.
Yeah.
I regularly get a lot of views for the Reddit posts and a lot of likes, but nobody comes.
I wonder, yeah.
I don't know if I should stop this Reddit post. Maybe that drives some people away because it's too public or something. They want a smaller circle of participants. I don't know.
Possibly. I mean, some people have complained about it involving too many people who are quote unquote unofficial. I leave it as an exercise to the student who that was. Um, uh, you know, I don't think it matters. Yeah, but it is what it is, I suppose. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. I honestly, I think what you said was earlier was correct. I mean, I think we saw more participation during the winter months because of the fact that more people were inside. More
Yep.
people had less time to go outside and do things.
There's another meeting that I can never join, which is like the FreeBSD desktop working group monthly meeting that they have. And it's always on a Wednesday, and it's always when my work does a stand up, so I can never join. But
Yeah,
I've noticed with that meeting from watching the recaps on YouTube and stuff, it's mostly just a couple of the internal developers and somebody who's doing the project management, and that's it. So it's like 3, 4 people. They do a slide deck. They talk about things for half an hour, and then they end it. But I was just gonna say, just comparing to GNUstep, this meeting, maybe these days it's not a trend where these meetings have a lot of active users.
Maybe 3 hours is really too long.
Well, they do theirs for like an hour with an agenda and a slide deck. But to be honest, I I I wouldn't join that meeting now just because it's so formalized. I don't feel like there'd be a
It's
place
too
for me to talk or say anything.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Because it's
Maybe
just like they have this agenda, they're meeting, and they're basically just putting it in front of the public. Being transparent, right? Anyone can join, but it's like, well, why join if it's that formal and it's their agenda and not, you know.
how many people are in there?
Like I
About
said, it's not really large other than the people from the foundation and stuff that are joining the call. I don't see a lot of outside contributors to that. I don't know of any other projects that do monthly meetings to compare to, but I'm just saying it doesn't seem like they have a thriving audience either for something so big. Maybe but what they do have, well, they have YouTube recaptions and then text transcriptions that people can follow. But yeah, I don't. If they're not getting a very large community audience, either.
We have YouTube recordings, of course, but Craig, do you have any numbers? How many people are watching those YouTube videos? Craig, you're muted.
Sorry. Or responding to somebody who was texting. No, yeah, we do. I mean, I don't know how many people. We've gotten a few subscribers. Hold on 1 second. Let me see. I mean, our views are somewhere around like a few hundred. Let me see. YouTube Studio. GNUstepOfficial.
Well, I would definitely say the meetings are worth having regardless, and they will drive interest. But I don't know. I just think like.
Well, some of it depends on what we get as a thumbnail, because, for instance, like the GNUstepOfficial like posting for the 15th of November, where I think you showed the preview of Gershwin, where you were showing off like different features. It had an interesting thumbnail. That one has more views than any other one, because I mean, like, for instance, actually, that's not true, because the last one has 481. But other than that, the one where you showed where it generated an interesting thumbnail actually got a lot of views. I mean, it got like 350. So, we have 212 subscribers. Like there were 4 in the last month, which I guess is okay.
You influence the thumbnail somehow?
Huh?
Can you influence what it's taken as a thumbnail?
He's saying, do you have like control over what is the thumbnail for each video?
Oh yeah, no, I can upload a thumbnail.
Maybe you should do this.
I think what I have to, but the issue is I have to do that when I upload the video. I can't do it afterwards. So I have to know what I'm going to make the thumbnail before I do it, and sometimes that's not possible.
Maybe you just select some screen share scene and then you make a thumbnail and upload it, because it looks more interesting than those round dots like on the screen.
Possible.
Yeah, I guess what would stand out for this one to me would probably be the web browser.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to create for that, but I very well might, hell, I might use AI to generate a thumbnail.
No. No AI slop.
No, we're gonna force that AI down their throat. You know I'm messing with you, Lars, right? Did you hear me?
Yeah. But maybe we should also set the title of the video more descriptive than just the timestamp. It's work. I know it's work and effort, but maybe it pays off.
Yeah, that kind of could make sense to draw people in. They know what they're clicking on.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. I mean, the titles have been pretty obtuse. GNUstepOfficial 2026 04 11 10 15. 18.
Come to think of it, I think that's one of the mistakes that the FreeBSD desktop working group is making, because every slide they have is basically the same. You can't tell what the content is without opening the video and skimming through it.
Yeah.
So a lot of months I just don't even bother anymore, because it could be a lot of stuff I just don't care about.
I mean, should we really wait for Fred to come
I
and
think
tell us
we should.
he wants to have dinner in 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's up to you guys. I think we should probably end around 1 or so. Because we've already been going for what, almost 2 hours at this point, and that's fine. Actually, a little over 2 hours at this point, and that's fine. And we've discussed a lot, so yeah, I think that yeah, I think that we should go ahead and like wait maybe for a few more minutes.
Okay.
Nobody shows up, and if nobody does, then we'll just stop. But I mean, so I guess I kind of took the balance back a little bit, Joe, because usually it's a you show almost. Um, Today it was kind of my show a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's good.
Yeah, no, I mean it looks like this. A lot of the things that I had queued up for a long ass time, and so I was. It was a relief to get them all, finally to a point where I could share them. The other thing that I've done is, I did fix the long-standing issue in NSTable where um, I mean, I think you dealt with part of this, Lars. It was where it was cleaning up after view-based cells. Um, so the part that I handled was the bit um, uh, where it was not laying things out properly when you were resizing. And well, what I was doing earlier was, a reload, and that was forcing everything to lay out again. And what I did was I removed the layout logic into a separate method
Okay.
and had it called conditionally in tile. And tile is basically the layout method that is called whenever you're using even just cells, but it's also called when you're using view-based cells. So and I also conditionally initialized all of the things that would normally be initialized for view-based cells, because before it was doing it just all the time, which was wasting memory. And so, I mean, on a 32 gig, machine, how much memory like conservation do you really need to do, right? But um, I just figured it's wasted memory is wasted memory, so we may as well not allocate it if we don't have to. So I fixed that, and so that is fixed. I also fixed a number of issues in Gorm, and tried to because there was an issue where it wasn't updating properly for in some cases when you were editing like a table or something like that. And I fixed that, as well as a couple of other issues, just minor issues. I tightened up Gorm quite a bit. I think I fixed some of the zib reading problems in Gorm parsing, you know, and creation. So that is a bit better. Um, I'm wondering right now if I should factor out some of that to a separate library that gets built with Gorm, but can be installed separately, because zib creation might be a good thing to do outside of Gorm. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Um, so right now it lives in the Gorm zib plugin, um, and it seems to me that it's a big enough concern that it could live outside of that plugin so that it can be useful to other apps. See what I'm saying? Because a lot of GORM has been factored out into libraries. GORM core, GORM, GORM Objective-C, header parser, interface builder library, and so on, frameworks. And it would be nice to see if the zib generator could be used as well as something separate.
That would be interesting. Maybe it's good to have it separately because it doesn't require creating new GORMs then.
Yeah.
If you put an application.
Yeah, I mean, I could have a tool that basically would be able to generate. I mean, hell, one of the things is, I mean, one of my favorite things to do when I was in college was data translation, basically compilers or language translation. And essentially reading in one input and outputting it in a different language. And one of the things that basically, let's put it like this. One of the things that the current zib reading, code is doing in libs GUI is it's basically a big XSLT transform. That's all it is. Because what it's doing is it's reading in the zib and then it's transforming it using software. It's not in XSLT, but it's transforming it using software into a form that can be read in our nib reading logic. You see what I'm saying? So it's stuffing it into like dictionaries and various other things that are useful when reading nib files. So it's a big transform. That's all it is. It would be nice to streamline that code for one thing, but it would also be nice to, I guess, have it as a separate library so that it can be useful for other things. Like, because what you could do is you could read in some completely foreign format, say a Glade file, from somebody sharpening a pencil.
Yeah, sorry, I took out some steaks that I had to salt.
Oh, okay, you're okay. I was like, no, I mean, so it would be nice to be able to, any arbitrary file, Glade, whatever, blah, blah, who cares? You could read it in and dump it out as a zip file. I mean, that would be nice. It would be nice to at least give someone the ability to do that, you know what I'm saying, by factoring it out as a separate framework. That's one of the reasons why I did what I did with GORM Core, is because I felt as though interface builder framework, GORM Core.framework, and all the other stuff would be useful. And this seems to be one of those things that could also be useful.
Yeah, like factoring out the Xcode build stuff also, so you can build your own integrated development environment based on those libraries.
Well, in fact, one of the things that I always like to say about the Xcode library, it's basically an IDE without a GUI. It really is. Because, build tool only exposes a mere fraction of the functionality that's in there. So it's if I build out a GUI on top of libs Xcode, in other words, if I finish YCode, which is what I named it, then it would be awesome. But one of the things I'm also tempted to do is implement at least like some support for libs Xcode into Project Center. In other words, take Project Center to sort of to the next level and make it a little better. Don't take away the ability to read PC.project files, but also allow it to read Xcode build files, Xcode project files. You know what I'm saying? And right now, even though with Project Center you can do pretty much everything that would normally be done, that can be that you could do, but you have to do it slightly differently. You know what I'm saying? It's not as flexible as libxcode is. Libxcode you can use practically anything that Xcode supports, and Xcode even supports. Where you have nothing specified in the Xcode project file itself, and simply rely on syncing up with the file system. In other words, it looks at the file system, determines what the build files are, what the resources files are automatically, and then builds everything the way it should. That was something that Apple had done in one of the last, I think 2 versions ago of Xcode.
Are you thinking about dropping the Y code idea then and just making it part of the Project Center?
I don't know. Because one of the things I don't want to do is I don't want to have internal competition between 2 different versions of 2 different, I guess what you might call
Integrated development environments.
Yeah, development environments. So what I would rather have is I would rather have a sort of one approach.
Why is there Y code anyway? Who created it or who started it?
I did. I did. It's in libxcode. I did it because I wanted to experiment with the idea of a GUI on top of a library to just load up.
I don't know. For me,
Go ahead.
I don't think it would be that bad to make Y code, finish Y code or something with AI and make it a separate app that opens Xcode projects. And I guess the problem is with Project Center installed, I know I click main.m or something and it opens in Project Center if I open it from Workspace. And then if you have 2 competing apps, which app opens when you open which thing? I guess is the only thing I see.
The other competing idea that I have had for this, and this one is going to be kind of wild, is a VS Code plugin. And I think you probably know where I'm going with that. Because why on earth do we want to create another editor when we have one that works very well?
Yeah, that's true. I could still see the value in the native editor, though, mainly because, you can get Visual Studio Code easily on Linux or FreeBSD or Mac or Windows or whatever. But if you're working within the constraints of, I just want to build a system using all native tools, and you prefer not to have a non-native solution on your system, then it's kind of appealing.
Well, one of the friends of the project, I think, he used to do Objective-C Retain.
I think there are a huge amount of people probably more interested in VS Code than I am. I don't even use it anymore.
Hold on. Who was it who used to do the podcast along with the guy from England? I can't remember.
Oh, it was Steven, I think.
Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steven.
The Sousa guy.
Yes, he used to say he loves Mac as fuck Mac apps. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen. Meaning Mac only. Meaning don't write it in anything but what can run on a Mac.
Yeah.
So, and I'm the same. I don't want some C# app running on my Mac that doesn't look like my Mac, doesn't blend in with its environment, doesn't look like, I would rather have, a Mac as F Mac app running on my machine. That's one of the reasons why when I wrote Step Down, why I started using that instead of Mac Down. First of all, it eats our own dog food. And second of all, I can see the logic behind what you're saying in the sense that if we build Y code, along the way, we will find out problems that we have in our own stuff. Instead
Right.
of instead of just like skipping over or doing anything that like an IDE, we would have.
I mean, to me, one of the biggest benefits about GNUstep is, you can build an app like Project Center in like under 30 seconds.
Mhm.
Like, try to do that with VS Code, that's going to be hours.
Yeah. I know. And if I can build something on top of libxxcode, and have, because let's put it like this. One of the things that like frameworkizing, if you will, oh,
Yeah, the only issue I see there between YCode and Project Center.app is just thinking about it. Like, if you have both installed, it's probably going to prefer one or the other if you're just opening like regular, main.m files or whatever. Like, you'd have kind of fighting competing applications in that sense versus just opening in one default application, which would maybe be the argument that it would be nice to have just one application that opens both.
wait, what is this? Lars?
What I posted in the chat is an old application framework used in the classic environment. It was called MacApp.
Object-oriented application framework for Apple computers discontinued classic Mac OS, released in 19.
Yeah, exactly. That's because you said MacApp.
Transition from Object Pascal, goddamn, to C++ in 1991's version 3.0, blah, blah, blah. Direct descendant of Lisa Toolkit. Wow, damn. Nice.
It was supposed to be funny.
No. It is kind of funny. It is kind of funny. But no. No. Clascal. It says the toolkit was written in a custom language known as Clascal. I guess that's object-oriented Pascal. Wow, interesting, very interesting.
What if YCode, right, was something that could open existing Xcode projects, existing Project Center projects, and like have like GORM functionality all built in?
Well, in fact, that's what I was about to say. One of the interesting things about moving GORM into sort of most of its functionality into frameworks is to allow that, because I kind of foresaw that when I did that, because I always felt like the application GORM had gotten like enormous, and building everything as one application seemed wrong, in the sense that it seemed like it was better that it exists as a set of libraries, and so yeah, in Y code we can reuse those libraries, pretty liberally.
I would be very interested in the singular app. I think I would use the heck out of that myself.
Some people have argued against that, only in the sense that they don't like where you have let's put it like this: they don't like where you have one big window that does everything. I don't see a problem with that, but the issue that I do find is that Xcode somewhere along the way lost.
Well, maybe if you did it that way, to where YCode is just like the kitchen sink version, like you still have Project Center and GORM for people who want the other thing.
Right, exactly.
And then you're not changing what those things are to other people that want that other thing.
Well, one of the things that Xcode lost along the way was the ability to do palettes. And because you can't have a palette in Xcode. What it has access to is what it has access to, as far as the custom classes and various other extensions and stuff like that. And that's okay, because whereas with Interface Builder, external entities could add palettes for their own libraries. Apple has complete control over, of course, the development environment on the Mac. I'm not sure. I do. I mean, obviously, I have developed Mac applications or iPhone, iOS applications, and it seems like a lot of the third-party stuff is mainly like open source stuff that you can build. It's not necessarily anything like big ass library. Let's put it like this: the era of big libraries that you could buy and which would provide their own, like, I guess, palettes is gone in the Mac world.
Right.
Whether that's gone for GNUstep, I don't know. But I mean, the logic that I would follow if I were to do Xcode is I would leave it with a sort of hybrid approach in the sense that you could have like a library, like Xcode does, but you could also have a like a palette. Like you could add palettes, so they would extend the library. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Are there any palettes? Are you aware of some?
Palettes
For Gorm?
for Gorm?
I got to step away to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
All right. There was one for in GDL that does have a palette for adding like database stuff. Yes. But,
Okay. Yeah, I remember. I tried to build this and it didn't work because
because you need the SQL adapter. You need the Postgres
Postgres,
adapter.
so it didn't build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, but it's there. I mean, I have it built because I installed Postgres. But yeah, I mean, what was that?
I have also installed Postgres, but it doesn't pick up the headers because those are in some obscure directory or something.
Yeah, I don't know how I got it built.
Instruction inside GDL2 how to build it correctly, but the script that builds this GDL2 library doesn't honor this. Yeah. It's a bit suboptimal that we have a YCode and Project Center as competing programs.
Okay, I'm back.
In the end, it's maybe better this way because some people like Project Center the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do Y code and see where that goes. And I often wonder, like if you set AI to do something and it takes 8 hours to do it, so that's basically a full day for a real person. How many months or how many weeks of work is that for a real person versus the AI? I wonder. How much time are you really saving? Also, what is the implication towards testing time?
Yeah, testing times has increased, I think.
Yeah.
Because AI makes sometimes sloppy things.
Very sloppy. Very sloppy.
And also review effort in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that yeah, let's put it like this: those applications that I showed you earlier, some of the code in there is kind of messy. Some of the code in there I have updated and changed to be better. But there are in some cases like bits of code that I kind of find like I mean, this is why AI scares me because it really it can generate some really bad code. It's serviceable code, but it's bad. And So that's why when you said, do Y code using AI, I would only use it to prototype something that would basically load a project and maybe put it in the side view as an outline view. Other than that, I don't know if I would do much more with AI other than that. Um, I would do a rapid sort of prototype and then move from there. Yeah. It's interesting that we're kind of ending up where we began.
Yeah, I think for me it depends on what I'm working on. For example, I don't really have desire to learn to write kernel modules, or it will take me years to figure out how to do that anyway.
Mm.
And for that kind of stuff, I'm gonna vibe that all day long. But for
Well,
like GNUstep stuff where I actually have like a real interest to learn, and I have learned a lot of things. I mean, I would use it in a more assisted way versus like just blindly do things.
I will tell you what I'm kind of like learning at the moment, sort of on my own, because I have nothing else to do really. Um, is VHDL. You familiar?
What is that?
Virtual Hardware Description Language. It's
Do
a way of programming
making
FPGAs.
Are you now in the silicon business?
No, you know what I'm talking about, right, Jay?
No.
FPGAs. You know what an FPGA is, right?
Yeah, FPGAs, of course.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, it's a way of like it's how you program FPGAs. Basically, the GNU version of it is GHDL, of course. Um, you know, and I've been learning how to use that. One of the things I am vibing all day long is any kind of experimentation with that. There's in fact it's called Next_FPGA, and
Hmm.
sort of a swipe at doing when I say a swipe, I mean an attempt at I mean, because recently somebody built. Are you guys aware, by the way, that somebody recently built an Apple Lisa and an FPGA?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
yeah. If they can do that, I can build a next cube in an FPGA.
It's funny you mentioned NextCube. I've been thinking about a cube computer too.
Well, what's funny? I have had two cubes in my history, but both times when I lost my job,
Yeah,
I had to sell them, um, and it was the most painful thing I ever had to do. Right now, the only machine I have is a NextStation,
I always wanted one.
and I love my Next machines. They are so beautiful, even still after 30 or 40 years. They are the most awesome looking machines in history. I swear to God.
I couldn't agree more.
I mean, and because let's put it like this: when I went to the University of Maryland, this is sort of my origin story when it came to this project, because when I went to the University of Maryland, um, about a year after I started, Steve Jobs came to our campus and he gifted 500 Next machines to the University of Maryland. These machines were all over the campus, all over it. There were Next machines in the computer lab under the parking garage. There were Next machines in the computer lab in the engineering building. There were Next machines everywhere, everywhere. And these actually ended up in, because there's a what is it, an arm of the university called the Terrapin Trader, which sells um, old equipment, because
Hmm.
what they need to do is when they sell it, they take a loss, and when they take a loss, they can write it off on their taxes. So they were selling this Next station that I have in my storage room. I got it for $75.
Nice.
Yeah, $75. And the Lisa, sorry, not the Lisa, the cube that I had gotten many years ago was $1,200 when I bought it. And then I got another cube for like 150 from the university, and I had to sell that one when I was I was unemployed for a while, and I sold that one for like $3,000. Good lord. Um, so this one will leave me when I'm dead, because what I'm not going to do ever is not have a Next machine in my possession ever again, because it's entirely too, yes, I've seen that one. Yeah.
I have a friend. She made a Gershwin Mini. She has a little, like, it looks like a little Mac Plus, but it runs Gershwin.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, so this Next machine leaves my possession when I'm dead. But one of the things I want to do is take one of those very cases, like you just posted, and implement an FPGA that will fit inside that case, and have an actual fucking Next machine running on an FPGA.
That would be awesome.
Not an emulation, not
right.
previous. That is sort of like faithful to the original. Just like the one on the Lisa.
That'd be cool.
And it's and that's why I'm doing the VHDL thing, is because A, it's useful for me to learn VHDL, but B, it's also useful for me to figure out how to do it in actual hardware, because the fact that I think it's awesome. I mean, and the thing is I just I'm hoping that this person who did the Lisa releases their specs, because they also have not only the FPGA, but they have a motherboard that goes with it. What I would love to do is build myself a one-off Apple Lisa, and just have it, just because. Now, I do have an emulator, obviously, and when all those years when I wanted kind of to play with Lisa, I find that it's useless because of the fact that it can't do much. It's kind of limited to it's like 6 or 7 applications. I mean, in retrospect, it's kind of a good thing that the Lisa died, because of the fact that, in spite of the fact that it was actually technologically better, in a number of ways it was worse than the Mac. So I get it. So we had to take a step back in order to take a step forward, I suppose, which is weird. But I don't know. I would love to have one in my possession, just to have it. And in fact, one of the other things that's kind of weird is I actually used to have an Apple Lisa chassis. Not any of the boards, but the backplane and the chassis and the monitor. And that was it. That was what I had. And now that I look at it, there are replica boards for everything, including the backplane and including the motherboard. Now, have you seen that, by the way?
No.
Yeah. There are replica boards for all of it. So you could basically create a replica board for every single board that would ever exist in a Lisa and build a new Lisa, which is wild. But yeah, no, I mean, how do we get on the Mac Lisa? Sorry, the Apple Lisa. Because we started talking about retro machines, and then we started talking about the Mac, and then we started talking about the FPGA stuff, which brought up the Lisa stuff because Lars sent me that thing, and then I started talking about the Next on an FPGA, and okay, got it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, it would be interesting to create sort of a modern take on a Next machine, and have it run Gershwin.
Well, I was just about to say, it's been kind of bubbling up in my head for a while about a new cube computer solution, maybe 3D print some cases and stuff and try to find all the right hardware components. But so with the next BSD thing I've been working on,
Mhm.
I have UIKit replacing DevMatch and FreeBSD and NuBus, and it can do something that FreeBSD has never been able to do,
Wait,
and that is
is it called NextBSD?
I bought the domain.
Really?
It was up for. I overpaid for it. It was up for sale. I talked to them on GitHub because I used to contribute to the project in like 2015.
Is it
And
nextbsd.org?
I have that domain. Yes, I don't have the site published yet, but I have. I can share the GitHub with a test image and stuff.
Nice, NextBSD. Really?
I don't have the GitHub.org. There's a conversation where they were going to try to transfer it to me, but I don't know if the guy has access anymore, so I have it here.
So this is an attempt to get the mock extensions.
It already works.
They're run by Next. Oh, okay, cool. Into BSD. That's awesome.
So if you download like that ISO, it boots a UnionFS image and it does a pivot route, which FreeBSD itself can't do yet. So it basically does a pivot route so you can install packages, install Xorg, build Gershwin on top of it now on a live image. And it will use all the available RAM in your system. So if you have a laptop with 8 gig of RAM, it's going to boot up and have like an 8 gig available disk, basically, until you run out of memory.
Nice, very nice.
I haven't put any limits on TempFS, but so it does a quick. It kind of transforms a BSE into. Let me think of how to give the right overview. So it solves the live system problem that the BSEs have always had, where you could boot up without. You could boot. I don't know how to explain that part of it. It basically allows you to boot and have a fully rewritable image. But like, if you tried to do this on FreeBSD, it would bound everything into like it would do a shroot to make this work on BSD. But I've made some kernel modifications that allow the root to be pivoted to and remounted as the root file system, so that all of the utilities like EFI Boot Manager and don't have the problem of thinking they're in a shroot.
Ah, cool.
So you boot up, it's a live image, and it uses UIKit and a kernel registry to build a list of hardware. So like it knows, okay, you have Intel graphics, I'm going to load the Intel graphics.kex. And it's actually, I've converted FreeBSD kernel modules to kernel extensions. And I've used Apple's KexD that was from Leopard. And I had Claude port that to this. So basically, with FreeBSD, if you want to, there's no sort of, there is detection for like some kernel modules to load with DevMatch, but things like graphics, it cannot auto load, like say, if you have an Intel or an AMD GPU, you have to manually like hard code those things in rc.conf under KLD list and load those modules yourself. But the problem is some older AMDs require the Radon KMS.kernel module, and newer AMDs require AMD GPU kernel module. So with this system, you can boot up, and UIKit just picks the right one. It just knows which kernel module to use based on your device IDs and does all the matching and just loads it. There's no configuration whatsoever. It just works. So I haven't gotten to this part yet, but I was going to convert a bunch of the older NVIDIA GPU kernel modules as kex using the tool that I had Claude write.
Right.
And I'm orchestrating this all to run in GitHub, so I don't have to have like a massive builder or anything.
I love your temporary website NextBSD coming soon with the guy walking through the maze.
Oh yeah, that was just a GoDaddy thing, but I can share what the real one's going to look like if you want to see.
Oh please! I love your NextBSD redo, or Redux, and you have a black cube as the symbol for it. This is awesome, man.
Do you see the screen here?
Hold on, no,
Oh,
yet.
wait. Okay, so you see that?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go to where did I put the site? There we go.
I was going to say, so yay, somebody else presenting today. Nice.
That's what I've been building.
That's so nice. I love it.
And it basically, I need to update a lot of this because a lot of these facts are out of date. I'm no longer using just it does have a kernel module for the mock support, but it's now baked into the kernel, and I had to do that to make the UIKit work the way it needed to, because I'm not using FreeBSD KLDs anymore.
So you're using basically UIKit like it would exist on the Mac.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Can you still see my screen, this VirtualBox?
Yes. Are you about to run NextBSD?
Yeah, I'm booting it here now in VirtualBox. I'll show you. I could make a stick and boot it on my laptop too. Hang on.
So this will run on real hardware as well.
Yep.
So you basically developed a whole operating system, and you're not going to show us this during the meeting?
So here we go. Log in, launch CTL list. So I've got syslogd, notifyd, mdns responder, kexd, hostnamed, getty, configd, Apple System Logger Manager, IP configuration, disk arbitration. So it now uses git if adder em0. Right. Git if adder. Oh wait, it's VTnet 0. So it has Apple's IP configuration and DHCP. I'm not using FreeBSDs anymore.
Nice, very nice.
And
this is so cool.
And it uses MDNS responder. So the host name, I need to fix that. It's 1 through 2. But when I boot my ThinkPad, it'll be ThinkPad-T460 until I rename it. Mm-hmm. So with that, I can basically ping. See?
Yes.
So then I can do SSH root at 1 through 2, and I'm in.
Nice. It sounds. I mean, it's when you say 1 through 2, it sounds like.
So you save the best stuff for the finish.
Hang on a second here. I'll show you this. I think this is the right image.
Hell, man! If you get advanced enough on this, I'm going to start using this as my daily driver on one of my machines at the very least. You know.
So this one doesn't have any kernel modules loaded, but you can see the modules I've ported so far.
System library extensions, dang, nice.
So Intel Wi-Fi, Intel graphics, Intel Ethernet, Radeon graphics, and AMD graphics. And then I'm going to have the legacy NVIDIA GPU KEX. I'm going to have a separate KEX for each of those. And then I'm going to have the new NVIDIA DRM KMod, so that basically I can do something. I can solve a problem that FreeBSD can't, which is every time there's no way out of box to just automatically make graphics work on FreeBSD without like installing a different package depending on which NVIDIA card you have. Mm-hmm. With this solution, I'll be able to put all of the kernel extensions in one place. So I could go to I'll just show you what one looks like. And then look at that. It's got the firmware, it's got the license, and it's got the firmware files baked into the kernel extension.
Yeah, really nice.
Very nice.
So, all right, I burned this flash drive. Now I'm going to boot my laptop, and I'll SSH into it as soon as it boots up, and then show you what it sees.
Lars, did you hear what I said earlier? I said, so you basically developed a whole operating system and you weren't going to show us this? Come on, man. What the hell? I'm kidding. But no, this is awesome, man. This is very awesome. I mean, you're kind of like me in the sense that I don't want to show shit off until I know it works.
Right.
So
I've been grinding at this off and on for like a couple of months, but all right. So there's the ThinkPad. It's a XStat. So see, it automatically detected that I have Intel Ethernet. It loaded it. It automatically detected that I have Intel graphics, and it loaded it. And it automatically detected that I have Intel Wi-Fi, and it loaded that.
nice.
Really good.
I've played with IOKit. IOKit is kind of interesting.
And then if I want, and then I can still use FreeBSD's package, so I can install things like Xorg, XLibre, whatever.
Right.
So package install Nano on a live image. I reboot. So I could go package install Git and then start building Gershwin. And I have Gershwin loading now. I need to fix libsbase is detecting Avahi as the I have to override it and make it use my MDNS responder from base, because that's causing a crash in the file viewer. But I could do like library scripts, bootstrap. Then it solves all the things Gershwin needs. And then I can check out all the sources and just run make install. And I've got all that building now.
Very, very nice.
I was trying to think if there's anything else cool to show you about it, but I don't have Wi-Fi in the sense that I have like WPA supplicant or anything baked in yet.
Right.
There's still some more porting efforts to do to make that work the way I want, but
how do you like
so it doesn't.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
But it does show the device net.wlan.devices IWL Wi-Fi 0. So I've automated the first part of Wi-Fi, but then I don't have the solution baked in yet to config the way I want to. That's going to take a little while. But I'm going to basically have it so it's not only going to load the kernel module, it's going to set up the actual wireless LAN device and then DHCP with config as well. And that'll handle IPv4 or IPv6. And it's very much event driven, so I can like plug in an Ethernet and it just works. It's not like FreeBSD where it's one shot with DH client where it runs once at boot. And then if it dies, it's dead and you have to restart it. What else was I going to show you? Well, I mean, I haveplists and stuff for Gershwin, but I don't have them baked in yet. But you can see some of the plists here for launchd. So all these services, there's no rc.d whatsoever. It's running all this stuff with launchd and mock. And a lot of this, I mean, I'm giving credit where credit was due. NextBSD, Raven OS. I just kind of picked up on that and then did some things that they never implemented, like config, IP config, MDNS responder baked in.
You saved the best for the last.
Really impressive, I tell you.
Thank you. Well, so I'll full transparency here. This entire effort totally vibed. I mean, I oversaw a lot of it as far as research. I had, Claude generate a crap ton of research around bringing that Raven OS and NextBSD work forward. and doing it in a way that would be easy for me to maintain with GitHub Actions. So, like for example, I didn't start out this way. I had a single repo that would just build a kernel module on top of stock FreeBSD, and it would do all that in a GitHub Actions VM that was an actual FreeBSD runner, right? Then I learned that FreeBSD can cross-build on top of Linux or Mac OS hosts, and it can do it for multiple architectures without any sort of slowdown whatsoever. So what I did was I came up with a way to build the FreeBSD kernel in GitHub. And then, like, if I go into this workflow here, it's using an actual Ubuntu 24.04 runner to build the kernel, and it's cross-building it. So basically, it is building a native FreeBSD binary on a Linux host, so that I could do it as fast as possible in GitHub.
Wait, what?
Yep.
You said it's building a what binary on what?
It's building a FreeBSD, well, modified FreeBSD kernel, because I make patches and modifications to it. It's doing it in 3 minutes on a Linux host. So that basically I can make pull requests and iterate. Like, for example, this UIKit pull request that I made to gate some messages behind the behind verbose. I can go there and I can go to all checks, and I can see like the build took a couple of minutes, but then I also have smoke test with the ISO, so I can make changes to the kernel and I can smoke test it in a real ISO. It's going to download the NextBSD continuous ISO, repackage this kernel into it, and then use QEMU and expect on the GitHub Actions host. Here's the boot test. So it's booting.
Hold on. Not you.
Fine. There we go. So it's booting FreeBSD with the mock kernel in GitHub Actions using a native KVM host in 2 minutes, and then running hundreds of tests on it. So every change I make is gated behind a very comprehensive test framework for LaunchD and mock. So then, like, what I did was I broke apart. So there's different repos for, like, when I want to modify the kernel, I touch this repo. This I leave alone. This is where I sync from upstream daily. And I go to actions here and I sync the fork. So it's syncing to the Relang 15.0 branch, which is the release version of FreeBSD 15.0. So anytime they get CVE security updates, it'll rebuild all the downstream projects, and I'll get an image every day. But then on top of that, I have the kernel. I have kernel modules. That's where I build those Intel graphics and things that you saw. And then I have the FreeBSD compat, which is where I build things like package, so that you can still install FreeBSD packages on it. And then I have the NextBSD repo, which is where all the all the userland, like Apple stuff, disk arbitration, IP configuration, OpenPAM, config-D, a lot of Darwin stuff. Like, so all these commands, they're going to be, not all of them are switched over. Some of them are still using FreeBSD's equivalents. But what I'm doing is taking things out of this source list here slowly. Like, let me find a good example. So for example, I'm using NewFS reboot, right? Reboot would go away here, and then I would have it take over here. And I think it's system commands or one of the, let's see here, reboot. Yep, that's where shutdown and reboot are. So I'm eventually transitioning away FreeBSD binaries to Darwin binaries. and I've got most of the FreeBSD stuff gone, and just enough that you can run package and things like that, and it's all so it's 100% binary compatible with FreeBSD and its drivers. But I'm just kind of like carefully curating its drivers away from 474 probably useless drivers to useful drivers that are kernel extensions with firmwares.
I am left speechless. This is awesome as hell.
Oh, and one thing I did, you'll notice every single one of the commits says package daemon and Claude. I mean, if I could have, I just would have let it take all of the credit as far as the commits and stuff. But it's handled every single one of these commits to this project. It has done itself.
Wow.
I've just been kind of building the plans with it, nailing down the plans, refining the plans, and then saying, "Go do this. Go work on these tickets. Go work on this ticket and iterate on it until it passes CI, and then merge it, and it just does it all."
You must be a poor man by now with all this token costs.
So it costs $100 a month for the Claude Max. They have a $200 plan, but I've been able to accomplish everything I need to do just with that plan. The $20 plan would not work. It would run out of context before I could even do anything useful. But yeah, that's where it's at.
Yeah, no, I'm currently on the $20 plan. Let's put it like this, but I'm going to upgrade to the $100 plan as soon as I can pay. It seems well worth it.
So I thought about doing a foundation for this, and but that requires 3 people, and you can't be related, and you have to have all these formal rules, and it just seems like it seems like too big of an effort. But what I was hoping to eventually get out of this at some point is some way to generate some kind of revenue to pay back the AI costs.
Mm-hmm.
Or in other words, so I don't have to pay $100 out of pocket for a capable model to keep pushing it forward. And then maybe if others want to contribute, I could say, here's a free Claude gift card. But I haven't really quite figured out how I'm going to do that yet. Maybe I'll just look at GitHub donations or something else for it. But I don't think foundation's the right answer. It's too complex, and have to have trusted people to even build one.
I mean, here's the thing. I have thought about doing a. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've thought about doing a foundation for GNUstep for years. I mean, in fact, Lars, one of the things that I told you earlier would help with that. Because if that doesn't exist, then there's nowhere for that to go. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But yes, and I'll explain after we turn off the recording. But yeah, I think it's actually good that we end here, because I think that a foundation is a good thing. And yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was great. Joe, I swear to God. I mean, let's put it like this. I was going to ask you.
So I'm very, very close to having a full ISO. I will probably have one by next month that's Gershwin on NextBSD.
Looking forward.
But I do need to figure out how upgrades mechanisms and stuff like that are going to work. But I'll have an ISO that's can boot all the way to a Gershwin desktop, and you can install it.
Nice, very nice. Let me ask you this as a last sort of question. One of the things that the Next machine had, and to be honest, that the Mac OS sort of has now, is a package manager. Do you think we need anything like that? like install that app, because really, I mean, there's no point, because every app is self-contained in a sense.
Right.
And that's why that's one of the strengths of Mac. You don't need an installer. You don't have to, because you don't have to install to 12 different directories. Of course,
Right.
of course, that's hyperbole, but you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes. And because Mac used to have like, BSD additional commands .package or whatever, and you can install that, and then like they had a package for the installer itself used that. Yes. Maybe, and that's why I haven't really sat around and took enough time to design it or think about how it should work. I mean, it would be easy if everything were in like /system. If I put the bootloader, the kernel, everything else in /system, I could, upgrading is easy. I'm just replacing one directory, move on. But the problem is, if I want to be able to run, package install something from FreeBSD outside of a jail onto the main system, then I have to have things in the standard places, or the packages are going to break. So, and it's not far enough along and it's not complete enough. In other words, like for me to have all the requirements I need to build Gershwin, unfortunately at this time, I need FreeBSD packages that are dependencies for things like libpng, workspace needs, or libxml for base, for libspace. And I don't have all that stuff, baked in to, let's say, NextBSD sources and vendored in there. I'm not ready to make a transition like that where it could be its own self-contained thing. But so in the meantime, to support any kind of upgrade mechanism, I would have to upgrade user and user lib, etc. And boot kernel and those directories. So one way to do that would be tar, but then what if you can't just necessarily blow away things like etc passwords that get updates by packages. Because certain packages, let's say Git, if you want to run Git as a server, it puts a user account in etc group. I mean, it makes a group for Git, a lot of times makes a user for it with a user ID. So just blindly overriding everything with tar as an upgrade doesn't work. So upgrades will require a lot of thought. In other words, to really pull that off in a way that is still compatible with like FreeBSD packages. And then how am I going to stop the user from installing kernel modules and stuff that aren't like, well, it won't matter because I don't even have KLD load on the system anymore. It's gone. So they can package install NVIDIA DRM KMod, but it won't do anything. It'll put stuff in boot modules and boot firmware, but that won't actually function until it's converted into a text. So it wouldn't hurt anything or cause any foot shooting necessarily, but I wanted to kind of maybe bake all the drivers you would ever need into the image, so that you don't have to manage drivers that way by installing packages and then hard coding things in rc.conf or loader.conf.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I mean, like I said, if I get a chance, I'm going to start using that as my daily driver on one of my, if I can get a similar laptop to the one that you're talking about, the T.
It's just a ThinkPad T420, but honestly, it'll boot on my XPS 9320 It'll in the next month or two, this should boot on everything and support everything that FreeBSD already does. So any hardware that just supports FreeBSD 15.0 or 15.1 release in general, this should support once all the right modules are packaged. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I just started with a limited subset so I could prove out the functionality and make something work that's been so for example, I'll try not to go on forever, but GhostBSD has a tool called Xconfig, and Nomad BSD wrote their own thing called initgfx. And the reason they made these tools is because FreeBSD doesn't have a mechanism to, like in kernel, like what I'm developing, to just pick the right GPU drivers and load them.
Mm-hmm. So
they have to because you can't have more than one NVIDIA driver package installed on a FreeBSD system. They have to pick, if you have a GPU that's like 10 years old, for example, they have to install a very specific package. And then that'll uninstall a newer package if it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to load things in rc.conf or loader.conf. And then you have to specifically create an xorg.conf that loads NVIDIA. So like none of that is automated well at all. Never has been. So people have wrote their own tools to try to solve that problem, but they all try to solve them in user land in bad ways to where they create edge cases to where let's just give an example here. So if I blindly said I have for anything that has an Intel GPU, just go ahead and KLD load i915 kms.ko. The problem is that someone's going to have a GPU that's new that requires a kernel newer than kernel 6.12, Linux kernel 6.12, since FreeBSD's driver is a ported Linux driver. It's just going to basically lock up the system, and there's no proper mechanism to say there's no matching device ID. Use syscoms. Use the frame buffer driver instead as a fallback. Like Linux has that, where has that smart userland kernel interaction, and everything is presented in /sys, so that all the userland tooling knows, okay, this GPU isn't supported. Let's load the fallback driver. Like FreeBSD doesn't have any of that, and the solutions that have been made often cause things not to work that should work, if that makes any sense.
Totally.
So this is just trying to re-architect that to where it's like the kernel doing it intelligently, and then like support, instead of having an ISO that has to reach out to the internet and fetch an old NVIDIA text, we can just have all the text built in, and the kernel can just pick the right one. And it goes with Ethernet. I have a system. I have a AMD system that FreeBSD does not load the driver for Ethernet. So I have to plug in a USB dongle, get an IP address with DHCP, and then go install a package, and then the firmware will load, and then my device is supported. That's another plan. That's another thing I plan to fix here, is just by shipping that package as a text, so that like it's just baked in. And touchscreen support is another problem. The drivers and FreeBSD base do not support things like KVM for virtualization, or something like a Microsoft Surface or whatever have you. And there's a package called UTouch that installs a KMod that does support all those things. So like I'll go a step beyond what FreeBSD does and just include a more sane default set of drivers. And UIKit can just see, okay, yep, system has this device ID. It's this thing, we match, we load. And then there's no manually configuring it. It's just we support everything possible, and just works.
That's so great. I'm blown away.
Same.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, as they would say in the UK, sorry, I'm kind of chewing on some cereal. On that bombshell, all right, guys, I'm gonna end the recording.